Well, hello, thank you for joining me today again on the Church History Trail, and we find ourselves back in Lisburn. And what we're doing now is we're actually going to look at Brigadier General John Nicholson's statue. Now, John Nicholson himself was actually born in Dublin on the 11th of December 1822, but he spent a good part of his life here in Lisburn. And there are two statues that were erected to his memory. Now, there's this one here in Market Square in Lisburn, in which we're going to have a wee look at shortly. And there's also one at the Royal School in Dungannon. And if you remember, I've done a wee video of the one at Dungannon. And of course, the one in Dungannon originally stood in Delhi itself until Indian independence, when it was removed to the Royal School in Dungannon. And the tribesmen of the northwest frontier actually worshipped Nicholson as a god, and so that they would stop that, he actually had them flogged for idolatry. And of course the flogging worked because they stopped. Certainly extreme, but that's what he did, unfortunately. It reminds me a wee bit of Paul and Barnabas in Acts chapter 14, if you remember, whenever they healed in the name of Jesus the paralysed man, the man who was lame, and they went to make them gods. They treated them as gods, and they said to them that they were just men like themselves, but they certainly didn't have them flogged like Nicholson did. So I think he was a very mixed up general, to be honest. And he was actually a brigadier at the age of 35, and he was mortally wounded storming Delhi in September 1857 during his most defining moment in his military career, suppressing the Indian Rebellion of 1857. And this statue then is actually just outside the museum. Of course, this was the market house, this part here, and John Wesley preached in the market house, and I've done various videos off the market house. It's also got a connection here with the United Irish man Henry Monroe, and so you can check those videos out as well. And Nicholson's actually buried in the cemetery, Nicholson Cemetery actually you call it, in New Delhi. And so I'm going to show you some of the information here, which is very good. There you can see the Nicholson statue, it says, and it says, "This statue of Brigadier General John Nicholson, 1822 to 1857, was unveiled at a ceremony on the 19th of January 1922, and it depicts Nicholson, sword in hand, leading his troops in an assault on Delhi when putting down the rebellion or mutiny against British rule in India in 1857. Standing over 20 foot tall and cast in bronze, the statue had been paid for by the industrialist Henry Musgrave, 1827 to 1822, of Musgrave Park fame. Of course, we have, for those who live in Northern Ireland, we have heard of the Musgrave Park Hospital, and was executed by the sculptor F.W. Pomeroy, 1856 to 1924. I wonder, is that where the village of Pomeroy, I wonder, is that who it's named after? I wouldn't know. It could be, it could well be. I'll have to check that one out. And then it says Nicholson was born in Dublin, but largely grew up in Lisburn, as I said, and was considered one of the town's most famous soldiers. He was posted to India in 1839 and served in numerous wars in support of the East India Company's rule on the subcontinent. He rose through the ranks, and by 1857 he was Brigadier General. Nicholson was respected and feared as a soldier and had a reputation for great violence. After his death during the assault on Delhi, Victorian Britain embraced him as a hero, and Lisburn celebrated the man who saved India for the Empire. Nicholson's legacy has been reassessed in recent years, and he has been accused of brutality and racism. He is an unpopular figure, of course, it says there, in India. And as I say, I mentioned that he did have some of the people flogged because they treated him as a god. But there you can see, it says there, the portrait of Brigadier General John Nicholson, 1822 to 1857. And then there's the unveiling of the Nicholson statue, 1922. And it says that the statue was unveiled by Sir Henry Wilson, 1864 to 1922, former head of the British Army. And then it says in this photo, Sir James Craig, 1871 to 1940, Prime Minister of Northern Ireland, is addressing the crowd. So I'd just like to see that. That's the unveiling of the statue. And there you can see the Prime Minister, Sir James Craig, addressing the crowd. And there's the statue then. And it says there, Nicholson's centenary 1922. In December 1922, the centenary of Nicholson's birth, a wreath was placed on the plinth in memory of Wilson, who had been assassinated on his London doorstep by 2 IRA men in June 1922. Sir Henry had been scheduled to unveil the Lisburn War Memorial in 1923. And there's another wee Nicholson and his troops storm Kashmir Gate, Illustrated London News, 1857. There you are. Good history there of Nicholson, isn't there? Even though he is a controversial figure. And there's the Nicholson Trail that you can do. And it says there, Nicholson at the Assembly Room, Lisburn. And that's the view of Market Square, Lisburn, 1860. So there you are. And then there's the Nicholson plaque, which is actually in the museum here. And it says, Nicholson plaque, John Nicholson was one of 7 children born to Dr. Alexander Nicholson, 1793 to 1831, and Clara Hogg, 1795 to 1894, Lisburn. A blue plaque was erected on the site of the house opposite the Fire Authority building, but now demolished. You can view the plaque in Lisburn Museum. So that would be actually down that street there, Castle Street. And just on the right hand side, but it's not there now. But the plaque's in the museum. And there it says, here lived General John Nicholson, who led the assault on Delhi, but fell in the hour of victory, mortally wounded, and died 23rd of September 1857, aged 34 years. And I'm going to show you the church here. This is the Nicholson Memorial Hall, Christ Church, Church Lane, Lisburn. And it was opened in 1864. The spacious hall at the rear of the church was gifted by Clara Nicholson to the memory of her children, including General Nicholson. She outlived all but one of her 7 children. And this church actually was the church that my mother and father were married in. So there you are. A wee bit of a personal connection. And then it says there, the Nicholson Monument in Lisburn Cathedral. This monument is designed by the Irish sculptor John Henry Foley, 1818 to 1874, and was erected in 1861. It is the largest memorial in Lisburn Cathedral. It depicts British forces led by Nicholson, not shown, storming Kashmir Gate during their recapture of Delhi. And so there you can see that. And that's in Lisburn Cathedral, and of course that's Lisburn Cathedral just in front of us there. And so we'll go and have a look at the man himself, or at least the statue of the man. And this is him here. And that's him storming the gates of Delhi, or Kashmir. Well, that's the man himself. It's certainly a good statue, isn't it? Good memorial. No doubt about it. He's got the sword and the pistol in hand. And it says there, Brigadier General John Nicholson, who led the assault at Delhi on the 23rd of September 1857 and fell in the hour of victory, mortally wounded at the age of 35. Yes, I was right the first time, Delhi. It was Delhi. And then it says underneath it, in proud memory of Captain William James Lindrum, V.C., Victoria Cross that is, Royal Sappers and Miners, 1830 to 1891, and he was awarded the Victoria Cross in 1855 at Sebastopol, Crimea. So there you are, and that citation's actually in the Lisburn Museum. And there's a few wee incidents here, engravings of incidents that actually happened And there, that's the wounding, I would assume, of Nicholson. He was mortally wounded, of course. That's a great wee inscription there, isn't it? Fantastic. And then at the back it says, "This monument is the gift of Henry Musgrave, Esquire, of this town, to the memory of a great Ulster soldier who was born in Lisburn 1822. And then it says, "In proud memory of Sergeant Samuel Hill, VC, Victoria Cross, 90th Perthshire Light Infantry, 1826 to 1863, awarded the Victoria Cross in 1857 at the relief of Lucknow, India." So, pretty amazing. And I assume that's Nicholson taking the surrender. Or are they part of the British troops? I'm not too sure. There you are. And so I'll give you another review of the General, Brigadier General John Nicholson. Of course, today known as a very controversial figure. And so thank you for joining me today on the Church History Trail. Again, if you'll enjoy the channel, please like and subscribe. God bless.